en nuestras naciones.
The Inter-American Teacher Education Network, the I-10, is working to improve the quality of teachers with an emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. In 2019, the I-10 launched the first STEM Teacher Fellowship of the Americas. The Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas, ECPA, is working with governments in the Caribbean to advance electric mobility and clean transport as the sub-region pursues energy independence. Under our Integrated Water Resources Management Program, SETI is responding to the demand of member states for platforms and applications that enable data-driven policies. In the Central American region, for example, we are expanding the scope of Costa Rica's Plataforma Interactiva de Aplicación del Clima Tropical. This tool captures and disseminates real-time climate and water data, promoting resilient agriculture. The Inter-American Committee on Ports is building human and institutional capacity through public-private partnerships to address port modernization, logistics, and security. CooperaNet, SETI's multi-stakeholder platform for cooperation and partnerships, is being relaunched in 2019, responding to member states' call for a more robust hub for cooperation. In a region where 8 out of 10 consumers begin or end their shopping process online, SETI has entered into a partnership with the private sector.
Es una herramienta que sin duda acerca a las MIPYMES hacia la demanda que hoy está migrando a Internet, y con eso pretendemos mejorar las ventas y el posicionamiento de las empresas pequeñas.
As we look to the future, the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development will continue to leverage cooperation and partnerships to expand our reach, proving that together we are much more than the sum of our 34 member states.
Me and my kids have been there for over an year right now. And children are friends. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Nosotros estamos en una zona netamente selvática. La línea de adyacencia va desde el norte hasta el sur, va desde Modesto Méndez hasta Aguas Turbias, tanto en el norte como en el sur. Esta línea tiene 215 kilómetros de extensión.
De allí vino él, se buscó creo con los de la OEA y de allí vino el proyecto para acá, para Judá. Y fue que lo dieron el terreno, lo dieron todo lo que era mano de obra y el material para hacer las casas que están ahorita. Y por ese motivo estamos aquí viviendo todavía.
La misión continúa trabajando en la implementación de medidas de fomento de la confianza mientras se aguarda el resultado del reclamo que está atendiendo la Corte Internacional de Justicia por la disputa marítima, territorial e insular. Nuestra oficina en la zona de adyacencia realiza verificaciones a solicitud de ambos gobiernos, facilita reuniones y patrullajes conjuntos entre las Fuerzas Armadas y promueve una cultura de paz y cooperación entre las comunidades locales.
Children will be children, and they have harmony. They don't see each other as a different country, but they see each other that they're growing together.
Hoy, esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos no podemos ser neutrales.
more than 100 years since the inauguration of this building, the OAS headquarters, our institution still brings together the peoples of the Americas to address our responsibilities as a partnership of nations. As we look to the future, our work must also focus on the construction of a positive agenda that continues to favorably impact millions of lives every day.
SETI's results for 2018 proves our effectiveness as a development partner, placing people at the center of our work and leveraging partnerships and cooperation to transform policy imperatives into action. With an eye on the rapidly changing global context, SETI is innovating to constructively address the emerging challenges and opportunities for the region. As part of our competitiveness program, SETI is designing precise tools to assess assets and capabilities in the productive sector to determine paths towards higher value goods and services. As our flagship program for partnerships, the Americas Competitiveness Exchange on Innovation and Entrepreneurship, the OAS, will continue to leverage good practices and the power of networks to increase trade and investment in the region.
For us, the role of the OAS is very important, connecting countries, connecting governments and private sector, and letting us know what other countries are doing it and how we can replicate that in our countries to enhance development.
For me, who has come here to look at how can we develop our own ecosystem, our own innovation hubs, our own accelerators, I think seeing this, touching, feeling it, seeing the transformation, seeing how quickly you've made it happen, is a testament to what is possible. So I believe all of us leave here stronger than ever.
The Working Group of Experts on Subnational Competitiveness, the GTEX, is our gateway program to promote local economic competitiveness policies alongside municipal and state-level governments, together with the private sector and academia.
Este tipo de reuniones te sirven para darte cuenta de todo lo que se está viviendo en América Latina sobre los temas de competitividad. Y hoy justamente en este sector estamos viendo sobre todo los temas de innovación tecnológica, pues que si hablamos de competitividad tenemos que hablar de tecnología. Y me está ayudando mucho para ver el panorama de ver lo que están haciendo otras ciudades y lo que podemos llegar a aplicar también nosotros en México.
The Hub on the Transfer and Commercialization of Technology is connecting and strengthening national innovation ecosystems in the region. Each edition of the Hub trains budding technology entrepreneurs from the region's public and private sectors to take promising products and services from idea to market.
¿Por qué es importante que estemos juntos en esto? Porque la región tiene que estar unida y me parece que hay mucho conocimiento en la región que todavía no está explotado comercialmente como podría ser, y esta es la mejor manera de hacerlo.
Tenemos la proyección de cada año generar y compartir nuevas experiencias entre aquellos que contribuyen a la innovación. Queremos cambiar el cómo lo hemos estado haciendo en Latinoamérica. Queremos generar la unión de los países, queremos colaborar.
Our virtual platform on technology foresight, Prospecta Americas, will support OAS member states in identifying and mapping future trends and technological development of critical importance for the Americas.
Este esfuerzo, el cual viene siendo apoyado por la Organización de los Estados Americanos, nos permitirá tener una gran información para poder mapear estas iniciativas de innovación y poder que ellas contribuyan al crecimiento económico, a la competitividad y al bienestar de nuestras naciones.
Como bien sabemos, nos encontramos ya en la cuarta revolución industrial, la que está cambiando rápidamente la forma en que se hace negocios, se produce, se consume y se genera bienestar y entretenimiento en el mundo. Es la mayor amenaza, tal vez la mejor oportunidad que tenemos en nuestras naciones.
The Inter-American Teacher Education Network, the I-10, is working to improve the quality of teachers with an emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. In 2019, the I-10 launched the first STEM Teacher Fellowship of the Americas. The Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas, ECPA, is working with governments in the Caribbean to advance electric mobility and clean transport as the sub-region pursues energy independence. Under our Integrated Water Resources Management Program, SETI is responding to the demand of member states for platforms and applications that enable data-driven policies. In the Central American region, for example, we are expanding the scope of Costa Rica's Plataforma Interactiva de Aplicación del Clima Tropical. This tool captures and disseminates real-time climate and water data, promoting resilient agriculture. The Inter-American Committee on Ports is building human and institutional capacity through public-private partnerships to address port modernization, logistics, and security. CooperaNet, SETI's multi-stakeholder platform for cooperation and partnerships, is being relaunched in 2019, responding to member states' call for a more robust hub for cooperation. In a region where 8 out of 10 consumers begin or end their shopping process online, SETI has entered into a partnership with the private sector.
Es una herramienta que sin duda acerca a las MIPYMES hacia la demanda que hoy está migrando a Internet, y con eso pretendemos mejorar las ventas y el posicionamiento de las empresas pequeñas.
As we look to the future, the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development will continue to leverage cooperation and partnerships to expand our reach, proving that together we are much more than the sum of our 34 member states.
Me and my kids have been there for over an year right now. And children are friends. It doesn't matter where they come from.
nosotros estamos en una zona netamente selvática. La línea de adyacencia va desde el norte hasta el sur, va desde Modesto Méndez hasta Aguas Turbias, tanto en el norte como en el sur. Esta línea tiene 215 kilómetros de extensión.
De allí vino él, se buscó creo con los de la OEA y de allí vino el proyecto para acá, para Judá. Y fue que los dieron el terreno y los dieron todo lo que era mano de obra y el material para hacer las casas que están ahorita. Y por ese motivo estamos aquí viviendo todavía.
La misión continúa trabajando en la implementación de medidas de fomento de la confianza mientras aguarda el resultado del reclamo que está atendiendo la Corte Internacional de Justicia por la disputa marítima, territorial e insular. Nuestra oficina en la zona de adyacencia realiza verificaciones a solicitud de ambos gobiernos, facilita reuniones y patrullajes conjuntos entre las Fuerzas Armadas y promueve una cultura de paz y cooperación entre las comunidades locales.
Children will be children and they have harmony. They don't see each other as a different country, but they see each other that they're growing together.
Hoy, esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos no podemos ser neutrales.
Your Excellency, Euclides Acevedo Candia, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Paraguay. Miss Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, daughter of the late Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. Permanent representatives and observers of the OAS. Secretary General Luis Almagro. Assistant Secretary General Desta Mendez, family and friends of Ambassador Ruiz Diaz, staff of the OAS General Secretariat. It is amid the profound grief of this organization that my country, Antigua and Barbuda, has assumed the chairmanship of the Permanent Council and that I conduct this meeting today. It is fitting that we should convene this special meeting of the Permanent Council following the request of the Permanent Mission of Honduras, supported by every permanent mission, to celebrate the life of one of our own, Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, Permanent Representative of Paraguay, Chair of the Permanent Council, and Dean of the Corps of Ambassadors, who sadly passed away last Wednesday, May 19th. Considering the draft order of business, CP/OD 2321/21, as adopted, allow me first to express on behalf of the Permanent Council and on my own behalf our heartfelt and deepest condolences to her beloved daughter and family members, to the government of Paraguay, our friends and colleagues across this hemisphere, which she dutifully served in the councils of this organization. Ambassador Ruiz Diaz was, at the time of her passing, the longest-serving permanent representative to the OAS, having started her tenure on December 3rd, 2013. Prior to assuming the chairmanship of the Permanent Council on April 1st, Ambassador Ruiz Diaz held many other prominent positions within our organization. These included a very impressive list: chairing the working group for the Declaration of Asuncion on development with social inclusion for the 44th General Assembly in April 2014. Serving as Vice Chair of the Committee on Juridical and Political Affairs, and most notably, presiding as Chair of the Working Group for the American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People in 2016. Under her leadership, the group reached consensus on the declaration after 17 years of arduous negotiations. That was a very significant accomplishment. Additionally, she served as chair of the General Committee of the 51st Special Assembly for the approval of the Organization of American States budget. She served as chair of the Committee on Administrative Affairs for the period 2017-2019, and chair of the 51st and 53rd Special General Assemblies for the approval of the OAS budget. From that long and impressive list, we can all see that this organization owes her a debt of gratitude for her work and for her commitment. Ambassador Ruiz Diaz was an exemplary representative of her country. She was a staunch promoter of multilateralism. She earnestly believed in the importance of inter-American integration. She was especially empathetic to the needs of the OAS staff, especially on issues relating to the equitable representation of women in senior positions in the General Secretariat. In the words of the renowned English poet John Donne, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main, Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. These sentiments pay fitting tribute to Ambassador Ruas Diaz, whose passing diminishes us all. Our organization has lost a significant member of our family, and our hemisphere has lost a dedicated laborer in the vineyard from which we try to produce our most fruitful work. Ambassador Ruas Diaz will be remembered as an affable colleague whose infectious smile radiated throughout the halls of the OAS and more recently lit up these computer screens. I invite the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States to join me in observing a moment of silence in memory of Ambassador Elisa Ruas Diaz. Thank you all very much. Now, on this occasion of celebrating the life and accomplishments of Ambassador Elisa Ruas Diaz Barrero, I have the great honor to invite remarks from His Excellency Euclides Acevedo Candia, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Paraguay. Sir, I invite you to offer remarks. The floor is yours.
A very good morning. At the outset, let me inform you that the minister has been called urgently by the President of the Republic. I am the Vice Minister, and he has asked me to represent him here. As you know, important decisions relating to the pandemic necessitate urgent and therefore very prompt decisions on occasion, and it is for that reason that the minister so regrets not being with you at this moment. Mr. Luis Almagro, Secretary General of the OAS, Ms. Maria Paz Diaz, Ruiz Diaz, daughter of our good friend Elisa, and all of you, allow me to appreciate the decision that a special room in OAS headquarters may be named for Elisa Ruiz Diaz. What a fitting and moving tribute to such a distinguished colleague and such a dear friend. One must necessarily speak when one wishes to convey who Elisa was on many levels. As a woman, let me say that she was the first woman to represent Paraguay ever. And that was just in 2013. Can you imagine that? That shows that certainly women have a tough row to hoe in our region. But as a person, I'm sure you all would agree, and surely here we in Paraguay would concur, that Elisa has probably, as the famous song of Roberto Carlos says, more than 1 million friends. And in her case, that's probably not much of an exaggeration. But long before she reached you at the OAS, you knew her, had the pleasure of knowing her in the last stage of her life. But before she came to the OAS, she had a very rich and impressive life here in Paraguay. It is, of course, true that she has left an impressive legacy to democracy in my country. She has, in fact, received a posthumous decoration, the Jose Falcón Medal, which was minted here in Asunción for her. She was a member of the Constituent Assembly in 1992. She was a candidate to member of Congress by the Republican group in 1993. She was a member of the Republican Association between 96 and 2000. She was member of the cabinet of the presidency of the Republic from 98 to 99, a director of the post office in that period. She was an advisor to the President of the Republic between 1999 and 2000. She was also a member of the Electoral Tribunal for the Colorado Party between that date and 2013. As has been noted in the moving introduction that we have just heard from the distinguished ambassador Ronald Sanders of Antigua and Barbuda, I can echo the fact that between simply 2009 and 2013, she was a member of the advising delegation to the delegation. From 2013, she did indeed head up the working group on social inclusion, aiming for the GA of 2014. She was vice chair of the CAJP, 2015-2016, vice chair and chair at interim between October 2015, or over October 2015. And as the ambassador has just said, she was also most notably chairing the working group that she led in stellar fashion, which led to the adoption by consensus of the American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples after 17 years, in which that hardly seemed possible. She also led the budget committee for the approval of the OAS budget in the two special assemblies. She also chaired, besides that 51st and 53rd Special General Assembly, again for the approval of the OAS budget. And to her end, she was chair just recently of the Permanent Council. So that is the impressive trajectory of our good friend Elisa Ruiz Diaz. And if this had been a session in person, I would ask for applause, but I will simply applaud the motion of the ambassador from Antigua and Barbuda, who so fittingly asked for a moment of silence. Thank you, sir.
Vice Minister, for those moving words. I apologize to you, sir. The last-minute change in your representation was conveyed to me after you had started speaking, which is why I did not introduce you properly. But I thank very much the Vice Minister, Jose Antonio dos Santos, for his words. Thank you, sir. And now I would like to offer the floor to our very special guest, the daughter of our late colleague, Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, to whom we all extend our deepest condolences and our sincere gratitude that she could join us this morning. Ms. Buman Ruiz Diaz, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sir Ronald Sanders, Chair of the Permanent Council, Representative Antigua and Barbuda. Let me also thank the Vice Minister, Dr. Acevedo, for Paraguay, as well as Jose Antonio dos Santos of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Let me also greet Luis Almagro, the Secretary General of the OAS, and all of you, ambassadors, delegates, and friends in the OAS. I am deeply moved by this decision to convene a special session of the Permanent Council to say goodbye to my mother, who just recently, until last week, chaired this Permanent Council. And let me also appreciate the initiative taken by Honduras for asking that we convene this meaningful session. Anyone who met my mother knew that she was nothing if she wasn't buoyant, full of energy. Every day she got up, she stepped forth with passion. And I will tell you, I'm about to become a vet. My passion is animals. Her passion was social studies. She was a lawyer. She was an author. And because she had been a notary public, she had magnificent penmanship. It was practically art, and indeed, she was also an artist. She painted beautiful, beautiful artwork which hangs in our home. And I know that wherever she is, she will grace that place too. She was in the law school. She then went into domestic policy. She became a member of the Constituent Assembly in 1992 for the revision of the Constitution of Paraguay and launched her diplomatic career in 2000. Over those years, of course, she met untold numbers of people, and her sense of responsibility toward her homeland and to others was deeply rooted. She loved Paraguay. She loved its culture. She loved its languages. She loved its people. She was a happy person. She was a paradigmatically honest person. And this was so to the very end. She was always faithful to the Partido Colorado, to which she always lent her approval and her strength to the end, but she supported democracy with a capital D in our country. You knew her, so you know she was an extrovert. You could never miss her. She loved talking to everybody. She loved truly getting to know people. And in that wonderful exchange, energy was given and received. She had a deep sense of diplomatic and political issues, but nothing touched her more profoundly and stirred her to action more than social justice as the bedrock of the Americas, as the bedrock of human rights and progress in these Americas. And I hope you think of her in that context. On her behalf, I can only plea for an equitable distribution of vaccinations, of the vaccines that are necessary for us to face COVID-19. Developing countries such as mine are not having sufficient access to those vaccines. And there is, alas, hoarding of these vaccines by a few, thereby prejudicing the many. We can only plea, and I do so here on her behalf, to redress that injustice. Until just last Monday, I heard her go on about that. And I uphold her here in that message. I can only hope that jointly and severally we can push for justice in that distribution. And let me then also state another point. which my mother did not have the time to see out. You know, when COVID is done or when the close down is over, it's not going to be done. We're going to have a great deal of challenges. And I speak here of mental health. Mental health, that was very much a concern of hers to the end. I speak of mine, of hers at the end, and all of ours. We have to do better to allow the citizens of this hemisphere, not only to health in general, but mental health, whatever it takes, on the phone, over Zoom, you name it, because if there's something that we have learned in these last months is that technology offers a very great deal, including the ability to ask for help, to send out an SOS when that becomes necessary. Let me also express my own support for this great organization as she did, but not close certainly without thanking each and every one of you in this organization. She loved this organization. She loved its staff, and that certainly includes the Secretary General, down to the last employee of the place. This is an institution that she loved, that she upheld, and that she felt truly reflects the richness of this hemisphere. As such, she was always a champion for the rights of women, whether in the political circles in Paraguay, as later as ambassador. Deeply grateful for the words of the Vice Minister Dos Santos, because she was very, very proud to be a part of the foreign affairs of my country. And I'm deeply grateful for her having been awarded that medal on behalf of Don Jose Falcón, which has been minted for her today. I'm sure she is smiling down on us for this outpouring of affection. I'm sure she couldn't believe it if I were to tell her, and I hope she knows, that a vigil was held at the headquarters of the OAS to celebrate her life, and to know that a special room might be named for her is more than I can say. I believe in faith that I will see my mother again, and I will tell her of your joy and mine and our grief. Thank you.
Forgive me, that was a technical hitch, but Ms. Woman Ruiz Diaz, I cannot thank you enough for that most impressive statement. First of all, I'd like to say that the animals that you are going to look after in your career will be very fortunate. They're going to be in very sensitive hands. And if ever you decided to follow in the career of your distinguished mother, I am convinced from listening to you today that you will be an outstanding advocate. But thank you for all that you have said. I now offer the floor to the Secretary General, Luis Almagro, who I know regarded Ambassador Ruiz Diaz as a very special friend. Mr. Secretary General, you have the floor.
Maria Paz, dear Vice Minister, dear friends, Elisa, we would like to celebrate your life today, your struggle, your fight, your effort to better the lives of everyone across this hemisphere. Your penchant for the practical side, your brilliance, your ability to find solutions. a professional of the utmost caliber, a diplomat of renown. It happens to be the 6th anniversary of my arrival here in Washington as Secretary General, and you were an ongoing companion in all of these processes, someone who has been close to me and supported me throughout, particularly in the thorniest of times. You will be deeply missed. We will assuredly miss you, but we have also learned from you, and we continue to feel your presence with us in that regard. Dear friends, ambassadors, delegates, observer nations, friends of the Secretary General, from those of us who knew you from the time that you were the alternate representative through the time that you became ambassador. Speaking of you and your life puts us in the difficult position of endeavoring to do this as colleagues in the organization, as friends who had the honor to be called such. The vitality, the energy that you have brought to the organization. As a result, you leave in your wake a very strong presence of energy, of strength, of intelligence. It will be impossible to forget that proud, obtuse, and joyful way that you have led our meetings and organizations, as well as the social activities in your home and elsewhere. You always have brought joy and shared knowledge throughout your life and to your professional endeavors that have been highlighted here. We, of course, can remember moments of particular tension in diplomatic fields, and when things were really tough, you requested the floor and said something funny that made us immediately relax and leave in passing also a perfect solution on the table. From the time that you presented your credentials, you never stopped being sensible and sensitive and bringing forth all of the things that were of the utmost importance to the organization. Firm positions, respect for democracy, human rights, that have made you a point of reference, a pillar for these concepts and in the struggle against democracy across our hemisphere. I remember many times at which you have continued to persevere despite the troubles, even through the very last meeting that you attended of the Permanent Council. You were there until the very last day. You were hard at work, grappling with the toughest of challenges. And you said that for Paraguay, the OAS is a tool of the utmost importance in ensuring the spread of democracy. These words mark your trajectory, your history in the organization, and the strength of your beliefs. In the Budget Committee, I also remember that when you were responsible for chairing that General Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Affairs, your success was unprecedented. Dear Elisa, you leave with us also your thoughts, your words, your ideas, your ideals that have been expressed so eloquently by your daughter, Maria Paz. I certainly believe that word for word, verbatim, we can all endorse those remarks. Maria Paz, thank you for those remarks that are so reflective of the person of your mother. The office of the Secretary General should bear her name. It would be an honor for me and a source of pride for the organization, that everyone who looks to the organization as a pillar of strength across the hemisphere should know her name. Thank you.
This seems to happen every time. I apologize once again for that technical hitch. It's not on my side. Secretary General, thank you very much for those remarks, deeply touching remarks, and reflective, of course, not only of your own feeling, but of the sentiment of many delegations here at the Organization of American States. It is now my great honor to offer the floor to representatives of other delegations. The floor is open. Might be useful if the Secretariat managed to leave my microphone and screen on so that it doesn't keep being disconnected. The first speaker on my list is the distinguished Ambassador of Brazil, Fernando Simas. Ambassador, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General. This is a day of very strong emotions. This farewell of our beloved colleague and friend. I would like to thank especially her daughter, Maria Paz, for these heartfelt and beautiful words that she has shared with us, and that are a faithful reflection of this extraordinary woman that Elisa was. I would like, on behalf of Brazil, and I'm sure that all of my colleagues share with me the sentiment in extending to the delegation of Paraguay, the government of Paraguay, her friends and families, our heartfelt condolences. We are confident that the memory and the force of her convictions will continue to be a contribution to the organization. The strength that she has always shared with us, even in the context of this terrible health crisis of the pandemic, it is fitting that we have returned to the headquarters despite that crisis to celebrate her life. Elisa Ruiz Diaz is a woman who impressed us all. Her nature, her character, the force of her convictions. She provided and lent her services to Paraguayan democracy and diplomacy, and her memory will continue to do so. I want to remember this energetic, vibrant woman with a strength of character that was most notable. Thank you, Elisa, for being our friend and for continuing to be our friend and our companion. Thank you.
Brazil. I now offer the floor to the representative of Haiti, Ambassador Bouchit Edmond.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished representatives of Paraguay, and our dear colleagues, friends, and daughter, the delegation of Haiti and the delegation of Haiti. Would like to thank the organizers of this special session so that we may appropriately bid farewell to our dear friend, the permanent representative of Paraguay, Elisa Ruiz Diaz Barreiro, who has most unfortunately left us on May 19th last. Secretary, she played an extraordinary role on behalf of Paraguay in this organization, bringing integrity and class to her role. And has brought forward with conviction the major issues within the organization. Her contribution to multilateralism and her person will be sorely missed. Ambassador Ruiz Diaz was permanent representative to the organization and also the representative of her country since 2013. She was a professional of the highest caliber who, through the day of her passing, May 19th, continued to struggle personally against a terrible illness. But despite that, she was always at the forefront of her responsibilities. And her final conversation with us, she issued a call late on the night just before her passing. She shared her wish that the OAS mission continue forward in Haiti and that it succeed. My delegation shares its condolences to her family, her friends, her collaborators, the permanent mission of Paraguay, and to the broader OAS family. And to all those individuals, all those people who have suffered as a result of this terrible loss. Our mission would also like to thank Honduras for the initiative in presenting this draft resolution to designate a room in homage of Ambassador Ruiz Diaz at headquarters. The memory of this prestigious diplomat will undoubtedly persist in our organization. Delegates, friends all, thank you.
Fernando, se desconectó el presidente nuevamente.
As the chair disconnected again, yes, we are waiting for him to request the floor so that we can put him back on screen.
Lo veo que aparece.
On our end, he appears and disappears. For some reason, he is connecting and disconnecting.
Ahí, ahora sí.
I again wish to assure everyone this problem is not on my side. The mechanism here keeps turning off. I have not turned off my microphone at all. So if it can be fixed on the OAS side, I would be most grateful. Ambassador Moshit Edmond, thank you very much for your remarks. I apologize for the delay. And Ambassador Yolande Smith of Grenada, Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to the members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Paraguay and to the staff of the Paraguayan mission here in Washington, D.C. Ms. Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, Mr. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General. My delegation extends warm regards to the family, loved ones, and colleagues of Her Excellency Ambassador Elise Ruiz Diaz. Just over 2 short years ago, I was welcomed by this esteemed Paraguayan diplomat. And as a member of this OAS family, I was deeply saddened to learn of her passing. I know the loss of our dear sister is felt by everyone present with us this morning, and with her illustrious career, many more lives have been touched. In times like these, words, however gentle, cannot take away the sting of a loss so profound. Our wish is for her loved ones to be surrounded by strength, courage, peace, and compassion. This is an opportune time to celebrate the life of Elise and to be reminded of the stellar contributions she had made to this organization, her country, and our hemisphere. She was truly an incredible woman. May the memories of her remarkable personality, her passion, and the commitment to her assignment remain with us. My sincerest wish is that she rest in perfect peace. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, the Distinguished Ambassador of Grenada. And with apologies to Ambassador Luis Cordero, who I skipped in the confusion of the last awkward moment. I offer you the floor, sir, with my apology for skipping your name. Luis Cordero.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, dear colleagues. On behalf of the delegation of Honduras, we would like to express to the family members, the people and government of the Republic of Paraguay, our most sincere condolences on the passing of our dear friend, Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz Barreiro. Elisa has left a void in our institution's life. She, as we have heard, has served in many roles. She served as the General Director of the Mail, the Chief of Staff of the President, and, of course, Permanent Representative of Paraguay to the Organization of American States, among other posts domestically and internationally. A first-class, world-class diplomat. For those of us who have had the opportunity to know her, we have seen and recognized her firm commitment to democracy, to women's rights, and to the most needy. A true leader, a warrior. Yes, a warrior who fought until the very last minute. And that is why we are here today honoring her memory. A council that she joined so often and chaired twice. She was the Dean of the Corps of Ambassadors and played many important roles within this organization, positions in which she has left an indelible mark and has expressed her faith in the inter-American system. Ambassador Ruiz Diaz will always be respected for her ability to lead and to take charge of the activities with which she was tasked at the head of her mission. Elisa is no longer with us, but her tireless efforts and example will persist. We offer our blessings upon her and for eternal peace. We offer the people, government, and friends and family, again, our most sincere condolences. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I offer the floor to the distinguished Ambassador of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ambassador Luis Gilchrist. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, representative of the government of Paraguay. On behalf of the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Permanent Mission expresses condolences to Ms. Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, beloved daughter of Elisa Ruiz Diaz Barreiro of blessed memory, and to her other family members and relatives. This permanent mission extends its sympathy through today's representative to the government of Paraguay on the loss of a dedicated public servant and to the team members at the Permanent Mission of Paraguay on the passing of their head, and offers its encouragement and support as they face this time of loss and grief. The Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines mourns the passing of Ambassador Ruiz Diaz, whose dedication to her job and to the Organization of American States, coupled with her valor and tenacity, saw her serving to the very end of her life. She last served effectively as chair of the Permanent Council up to a week before she transitioned. For this, we express our gratitude, admiration, and respect. We thank her especially as the toll of her arduous journey, which she bravely undertook, must have been heavy. Yet she appeared to count it as joy to continue to serve. The organization has lost a stalwart and long-standing member of the family, and for this, the Permanent Mission appreciates the opportunity to have been invited to celebrate her life in her memorial service and welcomes the homage being paid to her today in word and in deed through the designation of a room at the organization in honor of her life and contribution to the OAS. María Paz Bomán Ruiz Díaz, mi deseo para usted es que las bellas pinturas de tu querida madre sigan embelleciendo todos los días de su vida. Que Elisa descanse en paz. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, the distinguished Ambassador of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The next speaker on my list is Gustavo Tari. You have the floor.
Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, our special greetings to Maria Paz, the daughter of our dear friend Elisa Ruiz Diaz, and our cordial greetings also to the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Paraguay. In preparing my remarks today, I remembered a poem from a Spanish author when the passing of a friend said, a strike of a push, a striking of individuals, this invisible hatchet, the punch, is something that we have all felt. Apologies from the interpreter on her inability to interpret Spanish poetry on the fly. Elisa nonetheless continues to express the values that we all have, despite that punch to the gut that we have all felt last week with her passing, that hatchet that has fallen upon us. We know that her legacy of pushing for democracy, not only in Venezuela and for the rule of law across the Americas, will remain. Interim President Juan Guaido expressed that in a letter to the president of Paraguay, transmitting the condolences of his government and the people of Venezuela. For us, Elisa will continue to be present at the OAS. We will remember her whenever we enter the Secretary General's office, thanks to this timely recommendation of the permanent representative in mission of Honduras to name that office for her. We are certainly all suffering. We have come to admire, respect, and love her in the time that we have spent with her. And again, her absence will be very much felt, and she will be sorely missed. Thank you.
And now I offer the floor to the interim permanent representative of the United States of America, Brad Frieden. Mr. Frieden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you also for calling this special permanent council meeting today, which is so important as we come to terms with losing a towering figure like Ambassador Ruiz, who was presiding over this very permanent council less than 2 weeks ago. In the OAS, we're always busy running from one meeting to the next, seeking to manage regional issues that keep cropping up. So busy that we sometimes fail to appreciate the things that are really important. I think this is especially true in this strange virtual world that we currently live in, where we have constant meetings, but very little time for casual conversation. Colleagues and friends, that is why it's so important that we stop for a moment to remember a great diplomat and dear friend, Ambassador Elisa Ruiz. Each of us probably has a story of her kindness and her valuable advice that touched us. I will always remember my first meeting with her soon after I came to the U.S. mission. Though I have been a Foreign Service officer for more than 30 years, I had never served in a multilateral capacity, and I was naive about multilateral diplomacy. Ambassador Ruiz took pity on me, and she began sharing her great reservoir of wisdom and guidance. For that, I will always be grateful. We all saw her dedication. She presided over the permanent council meeting 2 weeks ago, although she must have been in great pain and nearing exhaustion. She was helping to direct the work of the PC right up to the day before she passed. That's just who she was. She was the best of us, and someone who, both personally and professionally, we can all seek to emulate. I close with a quote from President Abraham Lincoln, someone who knew his share of death and sorrow. Lincoln said, and I quote, "In the end, it is not the years in your life that count. It is the life in your years," unquote. That was certainly true for Ambassador Ruiz, who packed so much life and accomplishment into her years. Thank you.
Ambassador Frieden, thank you very much for those very touching remarks, appreciated by all whose ears heard them. Thank you very much again. And now I give the floor to the distinguished ambassador of Chile, Hernán Salinas. Ambassador, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the representation of Chile before the OAS wishes to express its deep sorrow at the passing of Elisa Ruiz Diaz, a brilliant diplomat, viscerally committed to her country and to the causes of this organization. She was an indefatigable leader, both there and here. She was a mother, she was a lawyer, she was deeply committed to all of the great causes of her lifetime, and she stands for generosity and magnanimity in the manner in which she served every one of the causes that were sacred to her. She will leave a footprint that we couldn't begin to fill. Her humor, her acuity were unparalleled. And when just last April 6th, she assumed the position of chair of the Permanent Council, she reminded us, and I quote her, "The OAS is a precious tool in the fight for democracy." And surely her personal commitment thereto made her an exemplary figure amongst us. For my mission, for myself, it was a true privilege to serve with her over these years, an honor to count on her friendship. Our heartfelt thanks go out to her family, to her friends, to the mission of Paraguay, indeed to the people of Paraguay. She is a unique public servant, and I'm very sure that she will rest in peace and rise in glory before her Lord. Thank you.
Ambassador Salinas. Now I offer the floor to my friend and colleague, the Ambassador of Guyana, Dr. Riyad Incinati. Dr. Incinati, you have the floor.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the government of Guyana, the Permanent Mission of Guyana, and on my own behalf, I extend sincerest sympathy to Maria Paz, the daughter of our dear friend Elisa, the other family members of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, to the government of Paraguay, and to Elisa's many friends and colleagues. We've already heard many moving expressions of sympathy and grief. We have heard about Elisa's many professional accomplishments in her outstanding career as a politician, a public servant, and a diplomat. I would just like to focus for a brief moment on her personality, her strength of character, the firmness of her convictions, her belief in the power of women, her pride in her country, and indeed her belief in the boundless possibilities of our organization and our hemisphere. And of course, her immense personal warmth, her infectious smile and laughter. Those will be the qualities I will remember most. We shall miss her deeply in this Permanent Council, and we shall miss her as a friend, we shall miss her as a colleague. We're all the poorer for her passing, but we are all the richer for having known her. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Incinati. And now I offer the floor to the distinguished Ambassador of Costa Rica. Madam, you have the floor.
Distinguished Vice Minister of Paraguay, Mr. Dos Santos, Ms. Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, delegates, members of the Permanent Mission of Paraguay, on behalf of the countries that constitute the SICA, I address you at this special session of the Permanent Council to pay tribute and to express our deepest affection at the passing of Elisa Ruiz Diaz, who until May 19th was the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps to those of us accredited before the OAS. Elisa Ruiz Diaz, permanent representative for Paraguay. With her vast knowledge and experience in this organization, she proved to be an outspoken and a passionate speaker, always respectful of institutionality, always vigilant to the pillars of this organization, fully convinced that the contributions that this multilateral forum to the hemisphere are unparalleled. Her generosity, her permanent respect for differences, and her sense of participation marked every intervention she took. We will remember her as such. She didn't miss an opportunity to bring people together, to bring minds together, to resolve differences. She showed this as she chaired the General Commission, the camp, special sessions of the Assembly, and the Commission on Budgetary and Budgetary Affairs at those special sessions, and yes, also chairing this council. We will remember her as a woman with a profound sense of duty and even-handedness. She was ever respectful in every intervention she took and as she led our council to the very last hour of her death. We will miss her laughter. We will miss her warmth. Rest in peace, dear Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. And we certainly reach out to her beloved daughter, to her family, to her dear friends, to the members of the permanent mission, and indeed to the government of Paraguay and its people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I offer the floor to the distinguished Ambassador of Canada, Hugh Adsett. Ambassador Adsett, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General. Let me begin by offering condolences this morning to the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Paraguay, to the family members of our dear friend and colleague, Elisa Ruiz Diaz, especially to her daughter, Maria Paz, who is with us this morning, and indeed to all of us, because this is a period of mourning for all of us as well. But also a moment today, and I'm glad that this session was called, for us to remember fondly the time that we had to spend with Elisa. We heard a lot of words this morning about her professional contributions and a lot of words this morning about her personal attributions as well. Her vitality, I think all of us will recall, her energy, her warmth, extroversion, and her sense of humor. I wanted to add two words of my own to that list: determination and grace. Some of us have known Elisa longer than others, some maybe for a few weeks or a few months, some of us for years and years. But everybody who worked with her could attest to her determination, her drive, her commitment to overcome obstacles and to find a way ahead. This was something that she displayed throughout her entire career, and something that was highlighted in many ways in the past weeks as she guided the work of this permanent council. If you didn't know that Elisa was ill over the past months, you wouldn't have known that she was ill. Many of us were in touch with her not only in the days, but in the day before her passing. In the battle that she faced, she displayed a tremendous amount of grit and a tremendous amount of courage, and it's something that characterized all that she did. The second word is grace. It's a word that has many meanings in the English language, but there's two that come to mind when I think of Elisa. The first is the sense of a way of doing things that's thoughtful, that's effective, and draws the admiration of others. And many have noted the warmth with which she worked with all of us, and her sense of humor and that ability to break the ice in a difficult moment with a joke that would diffuse the tensions and a well-placed remark that would make us all feel part of this important family. The second meaning is more spiritual, and those of us who attended her memorial service learned a lot about her deep spirituality and her faith. and her commitment to the well-being of others. I think many of us were deeply moved by that, but not surprised, because this concern for the welfare and well-being of others throughout the region and in this organization and in her mission was evident in her daily work, and something I think that touched us all. I'm glad we could come together this morning. It would have been nice, of course, in person, but I'm glad we could come together this way as well to share those memories and to honor her life. And so today we bid farewell to a friend and colleague who we will all miss dearly. On behalf of the Government of Canada, to the government and people of Paraguay, we express our condolences on the loss of an exceptional diplomat and public servant dedicated to the service of her people and of her country, who carried out her duties with skill and determination. To her family, and especially her daughter, Maria Paz, let me say thank you. Thank you for sharing Elisa with us. Thank you for allowing us all to have time to spend with Elisa, to benefit from her friendship, from her good company, her professionalism, and ultimately from her love. We're all better for having known her, and for that we are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Edsett. And now I offer the floor to the Ambassador of Colombia. Sir, you have the floor.
Ambassador Ordonez, please ask for the floor. Asks the technician. Here we go. Mr. Chairman, ambassadors, Maria Paz, Minister, Vice Minister, dear colleagues, how hard it is to put in words what we all deeply feel. One can but be moved, and one can certainly not embrace the great privilege of having known Elisa Ruiz Diaz, the Dean of this forum and the Dean of Paraguayan diplomacy, who just a few days ago was still working with grace, with intelligence, and with determination as she embraced the causes of this organization. I was privileged to call her my friend. And let me tell you something, she was a steadfast and unwavering friend of the causes of my country within the OAS. We worked together and in several functions over the years, whether in the context of diplomacy, at the permanent councils, at the General Assemblies, or within the context of the frequent, vibrant debates that we so often held. It didn't really matter what the venue was. She inevitably had le bon mot, the perfect word, the great insight for a meeting of the minds. Now, Elisa was firm. She was definitive in her positions. She was an unwavering public service, and that is precisely why Paraguay has lost so much, its people, its institutions, and indeed for the OAS, and I dare say for the entire inter-American system, where she expounded extraordinary leadership. Her main conviction was ever to be coherent and faithful to the principles she upheld here and in her country. And she did not mince words, but let me add immediately, always respectfully. She never failed to express her convictions and to maintain her unwavering faith in God and in the blessings of the Virgin Mother. To the last moment, and despite her great pain, to the last moment she spent on earth, she showed us that faith will see us through. To her family and to her country, and on behalf of the Colombian state, let me express our most heartfelt condolence and our immense gratitude for your having shared Elisa with this organization. You know, she'll never leave us. She will be here. And we can only pray for her eternal rest. May she rest in peace and rise in glory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And now I offer the floor to my friend and colleague, the distinguished Ambassador of Trinidad and Tobago, Anthony Philip Spencer. You have the floor, sir.
Chair, Ms. Maria Buman Ruiz Diaz, Honorable Vice Minister, Excellencies, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished colleagues. On this befitting occasion for all delegations to pay tribute to Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz Barrero, the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago expresses, on behalf of the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago, our deepest condolences. First, to the dear daughter, Maria, and the family of this distinguished and esteemed Dean of Diplomats, and also to the government and the people of Paraguay, to our colleagues at the Permanent Mission of Paraguay to the OAS, and to all of us who she has inspired in her life. Today, this Permanent Council bids farewell to our most recent leader and chair, and longest serving colleague, who epitomized and exemplified the commitment to consensus that will ensure the effectiveness of our collective pursuit of the purposes and principles articulated in the charter of this principal hemispheric multilateral organization. And she did so particularly for the promotion of democracy. The national and hemispheric foreign and diplomatic professional institutions of Paraguay and the Americas, respectively, have benefited significantly from the quintessential yet daring and decisive diplomacy displayed very affably and judiciously by this barrier-breaking Paraguayan woman and permanent representative. Elisa did so consistently during her many years of representing her beloved country, including during the past 8 years as the permanent representative of Paraguay to the OAS. Deeply saddened by the untimeliness of her passing, the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago therefore expresses its unequivocal support for the designation of a room at the OAS in homage to Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, to honor her life and legacy of service to the people of Paraguay and the Americas. Even as we at the OAS bid farewell today to Ambassador Ruiz Diaz, the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago, and I myself personally, will continue to remember both her commitment to service and her compassionate smile. Clearly, those qualities live on in her dear daughter, Maria. We join, therefore, in praying for her peaceful and eternal rest. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now I give the floor to the distinguished Ambassador of Ecuador, my friend Carlos Atiba. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Allow me to reiterate on behalf of my government and Ecuador the deep condolences to her government, to her people, to Maria Paz Ruiz Diaz, and to her entire mission We are all deeply moved by our dear friend Elisa Ruiz Diaz. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ecuador, the Secretary General of this organization, and others who have spoken, have eloquently evoked the indelible mark that Elisa left through her intellectual rigor, her indefatigable spirit in every matter that she addressed, as often as she headed the Permanent Council or indeed spoke therein. Our very dear friend, the Dean of our Diplomatic Corps, had a great deal to share, vast knowledge of so many, many areas. Her government has quite properly touched on the vast array of issues, the issues that she devoted herself to, and certainly the most warranted and beautiful tribute in the Medal of José Falcón. And we believe that to designate a room of the OAS in homage to Elisa is perfectly fitting. This will be a beacon to coming generations. We are deeply moved by her loss and sincerely extend our sympathy to her family and to her people. But we are absolutely convinced that she is with us spiritually, here and there. Peace to her as she rests in peace for this passionate woman, this woman who to her last breath gave the last ounce of energy to make of this a more just and a more fair hemisphere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hatiba. And now I give the floor to the alternate representative of St. Lucia.
Thank you, Chair. Chairman of the Permanent Council, representative of the Government of the Republic of Paraguay, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, Ms. Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, daughter of Ambassador Ruiz Diaz, permanent representatives, alternate representatives. It is with deep sadness that the delegation of St. Lucia joins in bidding farewell to a fallen member of this august body. Her Excellency Elisa Ruiz Diaz, Distinguished Permanent Representative of the Republic of Paraguay, Distinguished Chair of the Permanent Council, Dean of the OAS Diplomatic Corps, a consummate diplomat, a lady of substance, a mother, a friend. Albert Einstein said, and I quote, "The value of a man should be seen in what he gives and not in what he's able to receive," unquote. Ambassador Ruiz gave much to her country, to this organization, and to this hemisphere's agenda. Much has been said of her accomplishments by those who spoke before me, and while they may bear repeating, I simply want to recognize the value of her person. On behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia, I extend to her daughter, Maria Paz Buman Ruiz Diaz, and the entire family, our deepest condolences. We also offer to you our sincerest congratulations and appreciation for the legacy Ambassador Ruiz has left behind. We have lost an exceptional lady, a formidable diplomat. Ambassador Ruiz was known for the passion, integrity, and energy she brought to her work. Irrespective of issue, exhibiting a willingness to share information, share ideas, and more importantly, offer solutions. She exemplified commitment and dedication as she sought to advance the well-being of the people of Paraguay and across the Americas. Her advocacy for the human rights protection, democracy, and respect for the rule of law by countries throughout the region
inspired emulation. Ambassador Ruiz was convinced that this organization has a pivotal role to play in the betterment of its membership, a conviction reflected through her hard work throughout the organization, and eventually in the tenacity and courage she exhibited in fulfilling her responsibility to serve as chair of the Permanent Council despite her health challenges. She earned our full respect and has our profound gratitude. Our sadness is lessened only by the thought that we had the privilege to know her and to benefit from her invaluable contribution and friendship. The greatest homage we can pay to her is to continue her quest to strengthen the role of this organization in the advancement of hemispheric affairs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, the distinguished representative of St. Lucia. And now I have the honor to offer the floor to the distinguished ambassador of Argentina. Sir, you have the floor.
I thank you. My heartfelt condolence goes to Maria Paz and through her to the family, the friends, the government, and the people of Elisa. Alas, I was not able to meet her personally. I got here last August in the midst of the pandemic, so I so regret I was never able to meet her in person. But the first contact that I had was to express apologies on behalf of my government through her to the people of Paraguay for the terrible war that was waged by Argentina and Paraguay in the 19th century, and that launched a good friendship. But it is interesting to note, and I say this now advisedly, though we did not meet face to face, we certainly were there in spirit, and now that she is no longer physically among us, it doesn't mean that she is not with us. She is with us nonetheless. Absence is not the absence of presence, curiously enough. And naturally, we shall all follow in her footsteps, we know that. And the point that I would like to cling to now from Elisa was her legacy, her vibrant, her joy, her openness, her willingness to meet others, to understand them. And as everyone has shared here, her immense capacity for work, for meeting the other mind. And so while I did not meet her in person, I don't feel that I am missing having met her, because to the contrary, her attributes are all the more real. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And now I offer the floor to my friend and colleague, the distinguished Ambassador of Barbados, Noah Lynch. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, Excellencies, colleagues. The government of Barbados, indeed the delegation of Barbados, joins the entire inter-American family, and particularly the close-knit family of the Organization of American States, in this act in celebration of the life of an extraordinary woman, mother, lawyer, politician, diplomat, and all-around great human being. The fact that Mrs. Ruiz Diaz Bajero was the first female to represent her country as a permanent representative in this August assembly, says much about how she was viewed and valued in her country and amongst her political peers. No one that met Doña Elisa could have missed her infectious laugh, her exuberant personality, and intense, committed engagement on any subject that concerned the affairs of the people of this hemisphere. I remember profoundly my first encounter with her on the floor of the Permanent Council shortly after I arrived in Washington. Her promise then to always be of assistance and support was most assuring to a new diplomat finding a grounding in a foreign land and in a new organization. For that gesture, I will be forever indebted to her and to the delegation of Paraguay. She never disappointed whenever we sought her counsel or support, always delivered with grace and politeness. Her passing leaves a huge void in this organization. One area of that void created because we have lost a female who shattered that glass ceiling. The government of Barbados always supports women in leadership roles, as we appreciate the difficulties that women have had to endure in assaulting heights in areas that were seen as the province and domain of men. We therefore applaud and salute this outstanding woman of the Americas. The delegation of Barbados expresses its most profound and heartfelt condolences to her daughter, Maria Paz, her immediate family, her closest colleagues, and to the government and the permanent mission of Paraguay, and to all the people of Paraguay. We commend the delegation of Honduras for seeking to name a room in the Hall of the Americas after our fallen colleague. We hope that whatever decision is taken, that we establish a proper and fitting symbol of our appreciation and recognition of her work and dedication to the people of the Americas and to this organization. May she rest in peace and rise in glory. I'm obliged to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lynch. And now I offer the floor to another distinguished woman of the OAS, my good friend, the Ambassador of Mexico. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. The delegation of Mexico is greatly saddened by the passing of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz and joins our colleagues in offering their condolences, recognizing her commitment to the public service in her country. We recognize her work ethic within the organization. As part of the group of women ambassadors, I celebrate her life and I join in the words of others in celebrating her spirit, her joy, her energy, and priorities. It is important to remember her temperance and her desire to live until the very last minute. Elisa decisively continued her struggle despite the challenges. And she has served as a clear example of courage. We will remember her well as someone who enjoyed music and humor, and we send a cordial greetings to her daughter, the government of Paraguay, and the permanent mission of Paraguay. Thank you. From the interpreters, the sound at origin was very much wanting. We have done our best. A microphone would assist.
Now I'd like to offer the floor to the distinguished ambassador of Peru, Hugo de Sela. Ambassador, you have.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I would like to lend my voice to that of others who have celebrated the life of our dear friend Elisa Ruiz Diaz and express to her daughter Maria Paz our condolences and extend to them as well to the Vice Minister of Paraguay. For Peru, her loss has been a terrible one, and it is one that we have felt not only because she is a friend, but she is also what we might call an elbow mate, seated next to us in the Permanent Council of the OAS for so long. And we have worked side by side, hand in hand. And I believe that the vision that I have of Elisa is one shared by many, a woman not only of tremendous professionalism, but also a unique, singular individual who has left a profound mark upon us all, a mark of courage, particularly in her final days, where she showed what a valiant woman is capable of. But we remember her particularly for her warmth, for her sense of caring and companionship. As the Secretary General has said, she indeed will be sorely missed, Mr. Chair. Elisa had an active presence, a decisive participation in all the topics of interest to the organization, and her loss certainly leaves a void and shoes that will be extraordinarily hard to fill. She will remain in our hearts indelibly, and I send to her family and fellow Paraguayans my heartmost condolences and warm regards.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Gisela. And now I offer the floor to the distinguished Ambassador of Panama, Ambassador Maria Rocaber Leon. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. With the permission of our regional coordinator, I'm speaking briefly to express once again the sincere condolences of the delegation of Paraguay to the friends and family of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, as well as to the mission and the government as a result of her passing. We have heard today examples of an extraordinary life, professional and personal. We've also seen that our dear Dean has left behind her clear indications of her commitment and love of the organization, the work that it undertakes, and her profound commitment to the people within the organization. In addition to that professional commitment, Ambassador Elisa Ruiz leaves with us very pleasant memories of social engagements and activities. We know full well that she enjoyed laughing and making us all laugh. She even left instructions on how she wanted her farewell to take place. That is, celebrating her life, her commitment, her love of country, love of family. Maria Paz, when your mother spoke, you could see how her eyes reflected that, and she would light up and shine. We can see the same thing in you. And this shows once again that she was not only an extraordinary diplomat, but an extraordinary mother. We see the lessons of being valiant, of bravery, of standing tall, of representing the organization at all times with grace, as others have said. You will indeed be sorely missed. May you rest in peace and rise in glory, my dear friend.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And now I'm going to offer the floor to the permanent observer missions, who I know have been waiting patiently, and I thank you for doing that. But first, I've got a late request from the Ambassador of Jamaica, and I need not explain that permanent representatives take precedence over observer missions. I apologize for that. But Ambassador Marks, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Secretary General Luis Almagro, Assistant Secretary General Nestor Mendez, prominent representatives and interim representatives, alternates, representatives of permanent missions to the OAS. Good morning. It was with a sense of shock and disbelief that I received the sad news of the passing of Ambassador Elise Ruiz-Diaz. Ambassador Ruiz-Diaz was a strong advocate for peace, democracy, and the rule of law throughout the period of her tenure here at the OAS, which lasted from 2000, firstly as Deputy Permanent Representative, and subsequently from 2013 as Permanent Representative of Paraguay to the OAS. Always warm and engaging, she was never afraid to speak her mind and to seek solutions to the many and varied issues which confronted this permanent council. She'll be fondly remembered for her skillful guidance as chair of various committees, particularly the Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Affairs, which she served as chair from 2017 to 2019, demonstrating commitment and a deep knowledge of the issues, which led to timely and successful outcomes of the committee's work. The Permanent Council, for which she was a sitting chair, also benefited from her decisive leadership and devotion, even as she struggled with illness which eventually overtook her. I therefore take this opportunity to extend sincere condolences to Ambassador Diaz-Ria's immediate family and friends, and the government and people of Paraguay, and to the staff of the Permanent Mission of Paraguay to the OAS. May her soul rest in peace. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak, even at this late stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Marks. And now I will turn to the observer missions who have requested the floor. And I give first the floor to the distinguished representative of Spain.
Buenos días, presidente, secretario general.
Secretary General, dear colleagues, a lot has been said this morning that reflects the warmth and the high regard in which the Dean of the Corps of Ambassadors was held. It is a sad day today, and of course Spain, as the first observer country to the OAS, shares in these condolences that have been expressed to the family and friends of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz-Diaz and the organization that she formed part of for so long, and that she chaired in terms of this committee, this council. I also express these condolences, of course, most particularly to her family and her daughter. Today we are celebrating Elisa Ruiz-Diaz's life as she wished. In this farewell, we hear and we take with us the words of her beloved daughter, who has called for fair and just access to vaccines and a greater presence of women in public life. Let us all continue to work toward those lofty goals. Rest in peace.
Thank you very much. And now I offer the floor to the distinguished representative of France, Ambassador Anne de la Blanche.
Good morning. Elisa Ruiz Diaz Barrero was a colleague, she was a friend, she was an esteemed diplomat of the greatest caliber, and a very welcoming person to me from the moment I showed up in 2018. I was especially moved by her commitment and her enthusiasm vis-a-vis causes and struggles that we always shared. Her energy, her varied interests, including, before the pandemic, her travels in France with her daughter Maria Paz, painting, literature, music, made our encounters, whether tete-a-tete or whether in groups of friends, always joyful and certainly memorable on behalf of my country, of my mission, and myself. I extend my sincerest sympathies to her family, especially her beloved daughter, and the permanent mission, as well as the government and the people of Paraguay, represented here by the Vice Minister. We shall certainly not forget Elisa nor her message. I am deeply convinced that from where she finds herself and with that radiant smile, she won't forget us either.
Or to the distinguished ambassador of Italy, Ambassador De Santi. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Señor Secretario General, Señor Secretario.
Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, I join the voices who have spoken before me in celebrating the extraordinary life of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. Since the beginning of my mandate at the OAS, I have been able to see not only her diplomatic skills, but particularly her particular approach to life. She is a unique figure that I will always hold close to my heart. She is indeed a wonderful and unforgettable colleague and person. I take advantage of this opportunity to send my sincere condolences, particularly to her family and her daughter in particular, the people in the government of Paraguay on behalf of Italy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And now I offer the floor to the distinguished representative of the Holy See. Monsignor, you have the floor.
Chair, Mr. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, dear colleagues, the delegation of the Holy See appreciates the convening of this special session of the Permanent Council to bid farewell, but particularly to honor the memory of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, who was, of course, Paraguay's permanent representative and chair of the Permanent Council. I, alas, was unable to meet her in person due to COVID and her own illness. However, I learned of her commitment to the organization through my predecessor. And on his behalf, I share his admiration and that of the Holy See for the work and the person of Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. She always had a special place for this mission as well, and signals and signs of friendship and affection. Her commitment to human rights, and particularly that of the neediest and those that society overlooks, is something that should continue to inspire us all. We send our prayers for the eternal rest of our dear friend, as well as to her family, and particularly prayers for her beloved daughter, Maria Paz. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker will be the permanent representative of the European Union, and then I will open the floor to the Assistant Secretary General in his capacity as the Secretary of the Permanent Council to say a few words before I give the final remarks to the representatives of Paraguay. The European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished representatives of the government of Paraguay, all of the permanent representatives and observers, and to Maria Paz, the cherished daughter of the late ambassador. On behalf of the delegation of the European Union to the United States, and on behalf of Ambassador Stavros Lambrinidis as the permanent observer to the OAS, I would like to extend my deep condolences on the passing of Her Excellency Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, permanent representative of Paraguay to the Organization of American States. Ambassador Ruiz Diaz was truly an accomplished diplomat and a consummate professional. Every day, she demonstrated her dedication for her country, her commitment to this organization, its member states, and relations with permanent observers. The halls of the institution will miss her ever-present radiant smile and immaculate sense of style. In Greek Orthodoxy, there is an expression we use when a loved one passes away that I would like to share at this memorial today. Eonia imnimi, eonia imnimi. Eternal may her memory be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Assistant Secretary General Nestor Mendez in his capacity as Secretary to the Permanent Council. Ambassador Mendez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Secretary General has spoken on behalf of the entire General Secretariat. But, Mr. Chairman, in addition to being the sitting chair of the Permanent Council, Elisa Ruiz was also my friend. So on my own behalf and on behalf of the Office of the Permanent Council, we would like to send our deepest condolences to Maria Paz. Elisa's untimely death has brought to mind a few verses I would like to read, Mr. Chairman, written by Canon Henry Scott Holland, and it is entitled, "Death is Nothing at All." Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away to the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same that it ever was. There is absolute unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight. I am but waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. Rest in peace, my friend. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ambassador Mendez. Now I give the final word to the Raul Martinez of the Permanent Mission of Paraguay. Sir, you have the floor.
Chair. On behalf of the Permanent Mission of Paraguay to the OAS, I take the floor to reiterate the appreciation that everyone has made in the statements with regard to our dearly departed Senior Supervisor Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. Of course, we were part of her inner circle and cognizant that she had a terminal illness. We knew that this day would come. We nonetheless hoped for a miracle. But then we realized that many of us nonetheless were caught off guard, because while we saw that she was weakened in recent days, we knew also that she wanted to continue to live. She continued to work, and just a day before her passing, she sent a note to the council. And perhaps many were surprised by her passing. She was, of course, someone who loved her country, as her daughter has said in her remarks made from here, from the very desk that her mother once used. She, of course, was at different times the chair of the Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Affairs, and also in 2014 was the chair of the working group in charge of negotiating the Declaration of Asunción on Development with Social Inclusion. She also worked tirelessly in 2016 on the American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and I should highlight that closed out 17 years of arduous negotiations between the states. We would also like to note her expressive and joyous personality. She had the ability to speak up when everyone else remains silent. She built, she did not destroy. She kept her emotions on her sleeve and expressed her joy when she felt it. She said that she had many friends within the OAS, many of them permanent employees. Sometimes we thought she was kidding, but when we saw the vast number of expressions of OAS support staff who noted how saddened they were at her passing, we realized, of course, that it was true. The institutions, the people that she even had disagreements with, they recognized her passing. The Secretary General and the Assistant Secretary General, of course, have clashed with her, as have many of her colleagues. But we all know that her opposition, her views, were always expressed respectfully and with elegance and grace. She harbored no ill will toward anyone, even if she had been in conflict with them, as she knew that everyone continued to work in favor of the inter-American system. She struggled and fought for her values and beliefs, whether it was as a diplomat, as a politician, or as a mother. Upon occasion, she admitted to having been mistaken about one topic or another, but she never regretted her work promoting human rights and particularly the rights of women. On behalf of all of us here at the Permanent Mission of Paraguay, thank you very much for the expressions of your condolences at these difficult times, and thank you also to the government of Paraguay for conferring upon her posthumously the Order of Merit of the Republic of Paraguay. We have all benefited from knowing her, and we celebrate her life even as we celebrate and recognize her passing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez, for that very touching tribute to your distinguished fallen leader. I think it was a very good summary of all that has been said here this morning about our departed colleague and friend. Now, members of this permanent council, we have before us a very thoughtful resolution submitted by the permanent delegation of Honduras, which proposes that we consider designation of a room at the Organization of American States in homage to Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. The draft resolution is contained in document CP/doc.5701/21. I am pleased to offer the floor to the permanent representative of Honduras to present this draft resolution. Ambassador Luis Fernando Cordova, you have the floor, sir.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of my delegation and at the initiative of Secretary General Luis Almagro, I am honored to present this draft resolution entitled Designation of a Room at the Organization of American States in homage to Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz, which was distributed under CP 5704/21. As the draft resolution says, Ambassador Ruiz Diaz brilliantly represented the Republic of Paraguay at this organization. Ambassador Ruiz leaves a legacy behind her and the efforts to strive toward greater equality across the hemisphere. If approved, we will lead a historic mark. The room would carry the name of Elisa, the name of a woman. With that, we also open the door so that there may at some point be a woman as Secretary General seated in that office. I appreciate the support of the delegations for this draft resolution, which I formally submit to the consideration of the floor.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Cordero. Colleagues from all that we have heard.
Chairman, excuse me, Brazil is asking for the floor.
Ambassador Fernando Simas, I apologize. I did not see you on the request list. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. I wanted to express my thanks to the delegation of Honduras for having presented that draft resolution, which pays tribute, and quite properly so, to the memory of our good friend Elisa Ruiz Diaz. I am honored to request of my colleagues, my friends, and everyone here in the organization to look favorably on my suggestion that this draft be approved by acclamation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Simas. The floor is now open to the Ambassador of Guatemala.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. The delegation of Guatemala is honored indeed to second the proposal that we have just heard, that the draft resolution to designate a room of the Organization of American States to the memory of Elisa Ruiz Diaz, as we just heard, first by Honduras and by the suggestion from Brazil. And on behalf of THICA, we ask that it so be done. We second the proposal. Thank you.
Very much. Well, colleagues, we've had this motion moved and seconded, and from all that the chair has heard at this permanent council today, I am sure there is no objection for us to accept this resolution by acclamation. And if I hear nothing to the contrary, I will declare it so done. The resolution is accepted by acclamation. The name, a room in the Organization of American States in homage to Ambassador Elisa Ruiz Diaz. Thank you all very much. Now, colleagues,
Excuse me, Chairman. There is a request, there is a request for the floor.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I apologize, Ms. Guzman Ruiz Diaz. I did not see the request for the floor, but it is my pleasure to once again offer you the floor.
And thank you to the entire General Secretariat, to the Secretary General himself, to the ambassadors of the Organization of American States. From the deepest recess of my heart, I thank you. To hold my mother up as the permanent representative that she was in the place that she so loved, and to name a room in her memory moves me deeply. I hope to visit that room soon, because I spent many hours of my childhood in those hallowed halls. But may I ask you a favor? Please don't remember her in her illness. Remember her for her courage, for her steadfastness, and all of the beautiful actions that characterized her time among us. Remember her as your friend. Remember her as a friend to your countries, to democracy, to women, and dare I say, to humanity. And last but not least, let me say that from when I was a very little girl, she asked me, no, wrong word, she obliged me to study languages. Never could understand it. But I can therefore say today, obrigado, merci beaucoup, thank you, y muchísimas gracias, for honoring her as you have done, and as she certainly deserved. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Colleagues, we have participated today in a very sad event, but at the same time, at an inspiring event in the history of our organization. We have lost friends and colleagues in the past, long after they've served their countries and the OAS and moved on in their distinguished careers. But seldom have we lost colleagues who were active in our work and a familiar presence in our company. This touches us greatly. We shall miss Elisa Ruiz Diaz Borrero, but we must also remember the words of her daughter in the way that we remember her. And perhaps the most fitting way to remember her is to remember the joy of life. May she fly with the angels. Colleagues, our sad business is at an end, and I declare this meeting adjourned. My gratitude to you all. Thank you very much.